Dear students, today we're going to talk about psycholinguistics. Psycholinguistics that is offered at BS level in Pakistani universities. For example, Number it has the largest department, and here there are a lot of students who need help in psycholinguistics. So what I've done, I am making short videos. Some of them will be longer, but most of them they will be shorter videos. And I have also published these articles on my blog on Medium. So I have given the link. You can follow this blog and you can read them as well. So let us begin. I'll tell you about the basics of psycholinguistics today, and then I will make shorter videos. So this video is going to be a bit longer, so bear with me. And let's begin. Psycholinguistics, this one, like it is basically the branch of linguistics that is a combination of psychology and linguistics or neuroscience. What is the objective of this course? Well, this course helps students identify different aspects of language and their role in cognitive development. Similarly, it introduces students to theoretical and methodological approaches in psycholinguistics. And this course explains the psychological and neurological foundations of language. And this course also helps develop understanding of language development, production, and language comprehension. So language acquisition, language development, language production, and language comprehension. Plus, in this course, some topics are added, such as psycholinguistics and AI, and neurolinguistics programming. So these topics are also added in the final term. What are the expected outcomes? Well, outcomes are that students should demonstrate the understanding of psychological aspects of language use. They should be able to analyze development and comprehension of language through scientific frameworks, and they should be able to understand what is the connection between language, brain, and cognition. And similarly, they should be able to understand the common language disorders and individual differences. Here, I have added one extra topic that is called neurodivergence or neurodiversity. So, the course outlines that different universities in Pakistan they are following. That is Introduction to Psycholinguistics. That is what is psycholinguistics, its definition, scope, and limitations. Similarly, psychology and linguistics, history of psycholinguistics. These are uh, first. These are the topics of the first component. Then next component is language in the brain. Introduction to neurolinguistics, connection to language and brain or mind, and structure and function of brain lobes. Similarly, maturation and invariance hypothesis. And then comes the foundation of language, which is brain development and language and biological development. After that, language development will be cognitive development and language, and social interaction and language development. If you're interested, I have added one extra component to it, which is not part of the original outline, but I've added some methods as well or experiments that are being carried out in Pakistan. Unfortunately, there are no labs, or there are very few labs. Laghari University has a psychology lab, and Foundation University in Rawalpindi or Islamabad, they have also one lab, but these are more like psychology labs, not linguistics lab, where they use fMRI, ERP, PET. So I request the other universities that they should also start these labs, psycholinguistics labs. Similarly, corpus-based and computation analysis approaches, they should also be introduced. But these are not part of the outline. I've just added. So when you read my blog, you can skip it if you want to. Part 5. Next outline, the next part or next topics in the outline at BS level, they are language acquisition and development, language acquisition device (LAD), then universal grammar, critical period hypothesis, child language stages, similarly phonological development, and then language acquisition development part 2, that is lexical and morphological development, semantic development, and syntactic development. Language production, introduction to language production, Garrett's model of language speech production, process of language development, syntactic planning, lexicalization, phonological encoding, and then language production 2 will be slips of the tongue, introduction to speech pathology and speech therapy, and then language production, bilingualism, language and short-term memory, bilingual language processing, and neuroscience of bilingualism. That is also an important topic. Language disorders, these are fluency and expressive disorders, dyslexia, apraxia of speech, dysgraphia, sensory impairment, stuttering and cluttering, and ADHD, Down syndrome, different approaches, difference between aphasia and disorders, and neurological causes and psycholinguistic analysis. Similarly, then we have a topic role of artificial intelligence and natural language processing and neurolinguistics programming. So these are the courses, and this is like what is expected of you. So about me, I am a lecturer in English. I teach as a visiting faculty at Namal and at Qadi University, Islamabad. My name is Riaz Laghari. Uh, so let's now discuss some of these topics. When you read the words or you hear a voice in your mind and even silently think a sentence, you're experiencing the product of a vast invisible cognitive and neural network. Psycholinguistics is the science that seeks to make this invisible network audible to reason. It explores psychological, neurobiological, and social mechanisms that enable humans to acquire, comprehend, produce, and manipulate language. Far from being a simple tool for communication, language is a window into the human mind, revealing patterns of thought, memory, attention, and culture. Uh, you can consider this sentence, the old man, the boats. It's a very famous sentence. Most readers initially interpret old man as a noun phrase before realizing that man functions as the verb here. Usually, man is um, a noun, a noun phrase. It's part of a noun phrase. This subtle misparse, it accentuates, it highlights the complexity of real-time language processing and hidden computation that our brains perform effortlessly. So, have you ever paused mid-conversation and wondered how do words invisible in thought transform into sounds that reach another person's mind? Well, this is simple. This is a simple puzzle, and it sits at the heart of psycholinguistics, the science that studies relationship between language and the mind. It asks questions as old as philosophy and as urgent as modern artificial intelligence. How do children learn their mother tongue so effortlessly? What happens in the brain when we understand a joke or fail to understand it? Why do bilinguals they switch language mid sentence? How does a stroke erase speech, and how can therapy bring it back? Psycholinguistics is more than a discipline. It's a bridge between neurons and words, between private thoughts and public speech, between what is meant to be human and how humans connect. At its simplest, psycholinguistics is the scientific study of how language works in the mind, and it combines insights from psychology, linguistics, neuroscience, and even computer science nowadays to answer a simple question: how does the human mind handle language? So, that is simply the definition of language, or what is linguistics? Linguistics is the answer to this question: how our brain, how our mind handles language. So basically, it handles language through four processes. Number one, acquisition, how small children they acquire language. Comprehension, how listeners, as you're listening to me right now, and readers, if you're reading a book, how listeners and readers make sense of words or sounds. Production, how speakers turn thoughts into speech. Loss and disorder, how brain injury or disease affect these things affect language. Think of psycholinguistics as a detective story, tracking how the mysterious spark of thought becomes the familiar sound of speech. What is its scope and limitation? Well, the scope of psycholinguistics is vast. Number one, development. First, how do children's first words emerge? Second, bilingualism. How does the brain juggle two or more languages. Because if you look at America, usually most of the people are monolingual. 12% people are Spanish and other languages. But Canada has French and English. Most of the countries, they are monolingual, where this psycholinguistics research is happening. But in countries like Pakistan, if you look at Islamabad, here we have people who speak at least three languages. And so bilingualism, that is an important topic in psycholinguistics. And that is in the scope of, and you can do research on it because most of it has been done in English or French or Dutch or like limited languages. But there are 7,000 languages. Pakistan is home to 68 languages according to Ethnologue. So if you are interested in psycholinguistics, you can explore these languages or you can study how bilingualism, how it works and how our brain uh, manages these two or three or sometimes more than that. Because in Pakistan, I've seen people who can speak 6 to 7 languages, and even in like Papua New Guinea, there an average person can speak 5 to 6 languages, and there are some areas where people can speak up to 15 languages. One person can speak up to 15 languages. So brain language link, that is which part of the brain light up during speech. Now, thanks to technology, we can now see which areas of brain they are light up when we are speaking. And they can also show when we are thinking. And according to F. Fedrenko, these are interesting topics and they are separate. When we're doing different thinking, sometimes we use speech, sometimes we don't speak. So first, it was considered that they are the same thing, but now Raf Fedorenko has done a lot of research. If you want to know more about language and thought, you can study her research. She has also given interviews, and they're available on YouTube. You can watch her. So, technology. How does AI simulate human language? Now, this is something very surprising, and people they are scared of it. But let me tell you one thing: that number one, don't be scared. Number two, yes, do research on it. And it is like it has something different that now it can you can say that it has agency as well, like it can decide on its own. But these things are yet to be decided by experts. But there are people, the father of AI, similarly Noah Harari, and there are many other scholars who are skeptical about it. But I can here tell you one thing: when writing was introduced, Socrates also had similar views about writing. So I think that human beings have survived that stage when writing was introduced. It did not have any negative impact on human brain. Knowledge was exported, it was written into a book in books and in other things, but still, human beings they continue their progress. So I think AI and technology they can be supportive to us, and we can continue our progress and this march forward without any disruption. I hope so. So don't fear and learn it, use it, and do research on it. How does AI simulate language, human language? Because AI can write essays, it can write sentences, paragraphs, and usually they are um, equal to or better than human beings because there is no error in syntax. Because usually when we learn English or we teach English, we make mistakes. We're humans, but AI doesn't make. Now, these were the scopes. That is language acquisition, language comprehension, bilingualism, disorders, brain language link, and technology AI. So next is limitations. No single thing explains all of language. Experiments often simply simplify reality, testing words in labs while ignoring the messiness of real conversation, but rather than a weakness. This is psycholinguistics strength. It thrives by admitting its boundaries and evolving beyond them. Now, you can see that there are 7,000 languages, and most of the research in psycholinguistics, like 80% research, that is coming from English or limited number of languages, like just a few, and from 4 countries: UK, USA, Netherlands, Germany, and now China. Other countries are mostly consumers of knowledge of psycholinguistics. They are not producing the knowledge, while they are the laboratories. Asia, Africa, here, these are multilingual societies. Countries like Pakistan, where we have 68 languages, while India has also a lot of languages. Similarly, African countries have a lot of languages. Research is not being done, while here there's a potential. English is the only source. 80% research is coming from English speaking community, or it's called weird. These are white, educated, rich, industrialized society, democratic societies, where psycholinguistics and 80% research is coming from them. While there are 7,000 languages, there are 196 countries. So out of around 200 countries and 7,000 languages, just four countries and one language, or just a few languages, they are doing this research. So I think that um, uh, this cannot be applied to 7,000 languages, and a lot of research needs to be done by scholars living in these countries now because of online learning tools, online courses, YouTube. Like knowledge has been democratized. Like this democratization of knowledge, I think it will encourage people and they will start learning and doing research. So it can be done. If you are from Pakistan or those countries which don't have a lot of facilities, you can take. There are many journals, but one journal is important. That is Second Language Acquisition. It is by Cambridge University, where you can study old studies and then you can replicate them in your own setting using your own speakers, like in Pakistan, Islamabad, Pashto speakers or Sindhi speakers, Urdu speakers, and that can be that. So there's a lot of scope, psycholinguistics. A lot of research is being done by MIT Brain and Cognition Unit, by Cambridge University's Brain and Cognition Unit, similarly University of Reading, similarly in Germany and Netherlands, Max Planck Institution. So there are a lot of scientists, researchers who are doing this research, but unfortunately, the places where more research needs to be done with a lot of languages, that is unfortunately not being done. So we need to broaden its limitations, and we should try to start researching these languages as well. Because now we have enough thousands of students in Pakistan and Namal, Riaz, Karachi, University of Punjab. Similarly, India has a lot of universities and over 1 billion people, and there are many languages in India. So, and these languages are different; they are not the same as English. So, next point is psycholinguistics and psychology and linguistics. While psychology studies mental processes, memory, attention, and perception, while linguistics studies language structures, sounds, and the grammar and meaning. Alone, each is incomplete. Together, they ask how linguistic structures represented in the mind and how do mental processes make communication possible. For example, memory helps us keep track of long sentences. Attention helps us choose words in real time. Grammar provides the security that thought hangs upon. So, psycholinguistics is the intersection where structure meets mind, where thought becomes language. Language. What is language? It's a multifaceted phenomenon. In language, simply a tool. Is language simply a tool to exchange information, or is it the very essence of what makes us human? Language is not one dimension. It is biological. Why? Because it's wired into our brains and bodies. It's psychological because it shapes how we think and remember. It's social and cultural because uh, it is binding communities together. Computational, it influences and it is influencing and being influenced by artificial intelligence now. So to understand language is to understand ourselves, not just as individuals, but as members of shared story. What is the difference between classical and modern foundations of psycholinguistics? Well, every discipline has ancestors for psycholinguistics. They range from ancient grammarians to modern neuroscientists, from philosophers to artificial intelligence engineers. So a lot of people from different fields they have contributed to the to the field of psycholinguistics. Psycholinguistics is not a sudden invention. It is the result of centuries of thought about how words and minds intertwine, and each era adding new tools, new questions, and new puzzles. Ancient roots linguistics started in area that is now called Pakistan. 5th century BCE in Pakistan there was at that time it was subcontinent in Pakistan and India they came into being in 1947. So we are talking about the area that is now part of Pakistan. Near Attak and Chasada, there was a man, there was a linguist, his name was Panini, and he visited the mountains towards the north. He came back and he told his teacher that he saw variation every 35 or 30 kilometers. And he is made astadi ice or ashtadi ice. And that was not just a grammar, it was an algorithmic system of describing language. Many consider it the earliest example of formal linguistic theory, centuries ahead of modern computational models. Then we see before Panini, if you study Egyptian hieroglyphs, you will find that they think human brain has had nothing to do with these sort of thinking on language. They believe in cardiocentric view of life. Cardiocentric. It still exists in our Sufi tradition or mystic poets. Like Marana Rum, he believes in the concept of Akli Vajdan. Allama Iqbal, he also believes in the concept of Akli Vajdan. And his famous poem in Payam al-Mashriq, Garmi Kitabi, that is one example. In Urdu, he also has famous Urdu verse that is बेखतर कूद पड़ा आतिशी नमरूद में इश्क अक्ल है मैं भी तमाशाए लगे बाप कभी. That is cardiocentric view of life. So Egyptians, they believe in cardiocentric view of life. And Aristotle, he wrote books, a lot of books, but there are two books that are biology. One is Historia Animalium. The other book is De Partibus, in which he describes organs of animals. And he says that human brain is a cooling chamber. So he studied logic, he categories and meaning, asking how thought becomes speech. And his analysis of propositions laid the groundwork for semantics and reasoning. But he could not understand the difference, like the function of brain. He thought that it was a cooling chamber. And although Panini and Aristotle, they remind us that the study of language has always been both formal rules and system and philosophical meaning and truth, but Aristotle missed the point. And at that time, there were two other people. One was Hippocrates, and the other one was Galen. Hippocrates and Galen, they believed that they did not believe in cardiocentric view of life. They believed that everything comes out of brain. So there was a distinction. There was a difference. And there is also Plato's problem here. Plato also thought that how come we have so little knowledge, but we know so much about the world. So that later on, um, Descartes also expressed the idea, and then Noam Chomsky, he also used this idea of poverty of stimulus, that a child is not taught grammar or vocabulary or is not given lectures, so he has little input. But based on that, the child starts making inference sentences. So that poverty of stimulus, that idea was almost 2,000 years old. It was used by Noam Chomsky in this new theory. So in 19th century, another here psychology met language. Wilhelm Wundt, he was German, and he's often called the father of experimental psychology. And one applied laboratory methods to study language. He saw speech as a window into the human mind and laid the foundation for experimental psycholinguistics. Advances in neurology also emerged. Researchers began to connect brain regions with speech, identifying language disorders such as aphasia. And here, psycholinguistics became empirical, less speculation, more data. In the 20th century, there was a revolution, and here, Noam Chomsky, in the 1950s, Chomsky challenged behaviorist view of life, and he argued that uh, humans are born with a universal grammar, that is, an innate ability. And language, he claimed, is not just learned, but it's innate, a product of the human mind's unique architecture. Now, this is a very interesting question. I mean, we believe that there are certain areas that, for example, Paul Broca's area, Wernicke's area, and there was also Gall. He studied, Joseph Gall, he studied uh, skull bumps, although he was mistaken, but he at least tried. And then Broca, he identified speech areas, Broca's area, Wernicke's area. I mean, they were doctors or surgeons, and they worked with the patients, and they discovered that. And we also have George Joule has also mentioned one incident. Phineas Gage, his story. That story is also so. Similarly, Carl Lashley's patient and his work for a very long time on that patient. These things, they and experiments on feral children. Ginny's case, the girl who was tied to the chair for 12 years and then she was recovered, and she was given to psychologists, and then they studied her and they helped her. She learned morphological words quickly, but she couldn't develop syntax. Chelsea's case, another case. So there are Victor's case, another case. There are many cases. In these cases, they show one thing, that Chomsky was right. There was truth to his claim. And similarly, now modern techniques and tools, fMRI and other tools, they have proven that yes, language exists. So first, language was outside the brain, or at least people didn't know where is language. Is it a social artifact, or so? Usually, behaviorism was common that language is just imitation, or we get it from society. But Noam Chomsky, for the first time, located it, and then. Um you can say that now we know that there is Broadman area 44 that is responsible for syntax, or it's called Broca's area as well. And then there is area 45, which is the interface of semantics and syntax. And then we have Wernicke's area, that is area 22. And of course, there are other areas they are. So, although now we don't believe in this localized view, but we believe in more connectionist view. Uh, Not just biology but environment and their combination. But still, Noam Chomsky's contribution for from 1950s to till date, because he's still alive, and he has been writing and working and modifying and improving his theory for a very long time. First, he talked about LAD, language acquisition device, and then he talked about universal grammar, and then principles and parameters, and then other ideas, government and binding, and then finally minimalism. So Noam Chomsky has been contributing to linguistics for a very long time, and it was actually his teacher Zelig Harris who had was already working on it, but Noam Chomsky expanded it, and you can call it a cognitive revolution. Lev Vygotsky was from Russia, and he emphasized the social dimension of language, showing how children acquire speech through interaction. For him, thought and language they develop together, shaped by culture and collaboration. F. Fedorenko, she has done research on thought and language. If you're interested, you can study her work and you can watch her lectures as well. And Edward Gibson, he also studies grammar and brain. And Dr. Federici, she also works at Max Planck Institution, and she has also written more than 500 research articles, and she has also done work on it. So when I'm mentioning these things, you should not take anybody or anybody's research as definitive final statement. No, just listen to it or read it, and then keep on reading, and don't just form final ideas that okay, this is the finality or this is the final thing. No, everybody contributed, and this field is still evolving and it is growing. Uh, so last century gave psycholinguistics its two central poles. One is Chomsky, the other is Vygotsky. Chomsky says that language is a cognitive biological capacity, and Vygotsky that is language as a cultural tool or social process. And we still see that debate is going on. For example, see this book. This book is Formalism and Functionalism in Linguistics. That is by the engineer and the collector by Margaret Thomas. In this book, she has taken two. One was one is Andre Morrow, who studied at MIT, and the second one is Daniel Everett. Both these people, and she has discussed formalism, functionalism. So the debate is going on. It will never be over, and that is perhaps the spirit of research that every new discovery leads to new problems, research problems, and this is how research continues. And there is no end point or there is no definitive final answer. People they continue their research, and this journey goes on. And that is perhaps the way societies and the human community or human society is developing. So in this contemporary era, when first language was we didn't know where is language, then we localized, then we found out that yes, this is Broca's area, this is Wernicke's area, these are language areas. And this era now we have added machines as well. Cognitive neuroscience uses brain imaging to track language in real time. Computational models and AI systems they simulate human speech and understanding. While they don't learn language as human children, they do. Digital communication reshapes language daily. Memes, hashtags, emojis, and new genres of discourses. So now it has become truly interdisciplinary. You can say that already, like throughout its history, doctors, surgeons, philosophers, they contributed, but now it has become really interdisciplinary field. So the field now stretches across borders, combining biology, psychology, culture, and computation. It is once ancient and futuristic. It is like at once ancient and futuristic, born in philosophy, growing in psychology, and now reshaped by neuroscience and AI. So you can think about it. For example, what do you think is more powerful in shaping language, biology or culture? Like Chomsky's view or Vygotsky's view? Similarly, can ancient insights like Panini's grammar or Aristotle or Egyptian hieroglyphs they still guide modern computational linguistics, especially Panini, because his work is very close. And sorry, I forgot to mention Arab linguists as well. They also. And if next question you can think about it, if machines can now process language, does this change what it means to be humanly linguistic? If you are teaching, you can use these scenarios in your classrooms. The multilingual child, for example, a 6-year-old child in Kenya speaks Kikuyu at home and Swahili in school and English in media. Discussion: does the child have a cognitive advantage, or is language just a tool to survive in multiple contexts? Similarly, students can also debate is multilingualism natural or forced adaptation. Similarly, you can also try this one, another scenario that is imagine Chomsky and Aristotle on one stage. Aristotle argues language reflects thought and logic. Chomsky claims humans are born with the universal grammar. And you can, if you're teaching, you can split your class into two groups, one Chomsky group, the other Aristotle group, and you can have a debate. Similarly, you can also try this activity. Can AI understand language? You can use a chatbot writes poetry in Urdu and Japanese. It seems fluent, but it has truly understood meaning. Activity: students work in pairs to draft definitions of understanding and test them against AI generated sentences. So we have walked from ancient grammarians to AI algorithms, tracing the arc of psycholinguistics across millennia. I invite you to join the dialogue. Which thinker, Panini, Aristotle, Wundt, Chomsky, or Vygotsky, do you feel has the most relevance for our age of AI and digital communication? Does language merely reflect cognition, or does it actively shape it? The Sapir-Whorf hypothesis suggests language influences perception and thought. Uh, Question continually revisited in modern research across AI, cognitive science, and cross-cultural studies. So share your reflections together. If you are teaching in the class, you can discuss in class. If you are want to post it in the comments, you can feel free to do that. Language is not simply words. It is merely identity. It is memory. It is identity. It is resistance and creativity. So when you study psycholinguistics, that it means that you study what it means to be human. Now, if you are students, you can write an essay. I have given different topics here: age and language, the never-ending debate. Like you learn language at a young age, you're more likely to learn it naturally, especially when it comes to sounds. But when you learn it late, that is a debate. Although Steve Kaufman, he knows 15 to 20 languages, he learned most of them at around the age of 60. But still, most people, they cannot do that. In young age, you're more like before puberty, you can learn language very easily. But after that, the famous example is Zoran Mamdani, the mayor of New York. He speaks quite fluently and naturally. But Henry Kissinger, who was the American Foreign Secretary, and he wrote a lot of books as well. He could not speak like native speakers. Why? Because he came to America late. So you can check it. Pakistanis who are in India, who are in America or in England, uh, those people who went to America or England late, they can speak in English, but they are not as naturally spontaneous and as native speakers. But their children who were born there or they went there at an early age, they speak just like native speakers. Similarly, Pathan boys and girls who are living born in Islamabad, they speak Urdu properly. They have no problem. But their parents who came to Islamabad or Lahore or Karachi when they had past puberty, they can't speak Urdu. They have problem of verbs usually, like subject verb agreement. Aisha आम खाता है, Ali आम खाती है, गाय घास खाता है, घोड़ा घास खाती है. They have this problem. Similarly, why? Because they learn Urdu late, while they're young children, they have no problem. Similarly, the born to learn or learn to life. The age factor, myth, magic, or reality. Critical period hypothesis, is it science or speculation? Language learning across lifespans, boundaries or boundless. Bilingual minds, is it gifted or burdened? Language and thought, who controls whom? AI versus human. Can machines ever understand language like we do? They have sentience, consciousness, emotions, feelings, personality, experiences. Speech errors, clumsy mistakes, or windows into the mind. Language acquisition, nature, nurture, or both. So you can write a thesis statement, start with a single thesis statement, and clearly show your stance. Then write introduction, 35 to 40 words, 50 words, introduce the topic, and then last sentence should be your thesis statement. Body paragraph, you can write 50 to 60 words each paragraph, and first supporting argument, and then examples, evidence, data, then second paragraph, third. So like this you can write. And if you want, you can also write counter argument or rebuttal to it. And then conclusion, that should be 35 to 40 words. Reinstate your thesis and brief reflection. Word limit, you can write 300 words. That's enough. Later on, you can write longer essays, but right now, and you can publish it on Medium as well. That's a very good blog. You can publish on Medium. You can publish your articles on essays, short essays on WordPress. You can publish them on Blogger. You can publish them on Substack. So wherever you like, you can publish them. I post linguistics mostly on Medium and on Blogger. On Substack, I usually talk about other topics, and on WordPress, I write about ELT, English language teaching. So it's up to you. I use all these platforms, and now I've started writing on LinkedIn as well. So you can use any of them. I think Medium will be good if you are new, because later on, if you're successful, you have 100 followers, and people are reading your content, you can monetize it as well. And so you will submit this essay. If you're my student, you can submit it on Google Classroom. And if you are not my student, you can still join our Facebook page, Excellence Linguistics. And over there, you can share your work or your ideas, and you can post comments and questions. I will try to reply. And you can also post your comments here on the YouTube video as well. I have also added some videos, interesting videos. For example, there is a video of Border Collie, Neil deGrasse Tyson. He conducted one interview, so you can also watch that. There is a dog, and that dog knows um, almost 1,000 words. You can see that, and you can watch it on YouTube. Neil deGrasse Tyson, he conducted an interview of a dog, Border Collie, and that was quite interesting. Similarly, you can also watch a lecture by Nancy Canvisher, her lecture on language. That's very good. You can also watch um, Dr. Federici, her lectures and interviews are available on YouTube. And Max Planck Institution, you can see that. Similarly, Cambridge Brain and Cognition Unit. And there is also Asifa Majid. She is a professor, experimental psychology or psycholinguistics. She teaches at Oxford. And Ev Fedorenko, she teaches at MIT. She is one of the best and finest professors. She replies, although she's too busy, but she does reply if your question is. And Edward Gibson, my favorite teacher, he's at MIT. I like his style, and I have watched his interviews as well. You can watch, and there are a lot of professors that you can see the work at MIT Brain and Cognition Unit. You can see the work of University of Reading Psycholinguistics Department. They have some very good teachers. You can also see the work of Max Planck Institution And there are so many of them because there are thousands of universities all over the world. So it's like not just one. So you can watch them, and hopefully, psycholinguistics, that's one of the most interesting and intriguing field. Best wishes for you. So see you in the next video with another topic. Have a nice day. Take care. And until then, goodbye.